Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Tuesday Talks with Ashley Hanna, your Metro Charlotte residential real estate agent, and Angelo Datseris, your go-to for all things home financing, refinancing, lending, and everything in between. We have got a great show for y'all today. And hang tight while I wait for my other half to hop on and give y'all some time to hop on as well. And as always, you can always feel free to drop questions during today's live in the comment section below, and we will do our best to answer those questions during our discussion today. We appreciate any feedback you have, and always thank you for tuning in. We love it when you share or interact with us in any way. So hang tight while I get Angelo on board with us. There he is. Okay. Hi.
Yo, what's up, Ash?
How's it going?
Happy Tuesday to you. It's going.
Yes.
It is going.
Cool.
How is your week going?
It's going. It's just another day, right?
Right. I remember I had some notes. I actually had my little sticky note here to a couple of things that we were going to talk about this week. So, but do you have anything that you wanted to touch on before we talk about the short-term disability? We can go right.
Yeah, I was going to say, I knew that we had that listed, and also we were going to talk. Do you have the lumber pricing, the most up-to-date lumber prices? Or I can look them up while you talk about short-term disability.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Yeah. So from time to time, we run into clients that are, I guess, they're on a leave of some sort from their employer. So, and if they're coming back from the employer, that's considered short-term disability, right?
Right.
So, what is short-term disability? Like, how do you what's the definition of it? So, basically, it's temporary leave. All right. It's generally short duration, and the reasons for temporary leave could be one of many, but can include maternity or paternity leave, short-term medical disability, other types of leave for workman's comp if you get injured on the job or something like that. So borrowers on temporary leave, they may, and that's the thing, that some of them may or may not get paid for that disability. Now, if we find out or if we know that you're on disability, we have to then figure out if you can still qualify with that disability. And there's a couple questions that we need to ask, like, are you getting paid during your leave? How long is your leave going to be? What are you getting paid? Because usually it's not as much as like your regular pay if you're on disabilities or some sort of short-term medical disabilities. So we still have to, if we.
How do people know what does their employer, I guess?
Their employer. Yeah, their employer. Okay. Yep.
So it's going to vary by person. Correct.
It's going to vary by employer and what their employer allows and all that, right? So if, in some particular clients may not need that to qualify, but in case you do need that short-term disability to qualify, in order to use it, we need to get certain documentation, right? We need to get documentation from the employer on, how long it's going to be good for, and also when your return back to work is. We have to have a definitive date in order to use and to use that basically that disability income. So if your employer says they don't have a definitive return date for you, we can't use it. They have to have, it's got to be written in that you are going to return to work in the foreseeable future. And the borrower has to kind of provide that documentation as well on his intent to return, his or her intent to return to work. So, yeah, and so it's got to be kind of mutually exclusive with the borrower and the employer on when the return date is going to be.
So, like when you go on short-term disability, do you always have to give them a definite return date?
For qualification purposes, I mean, with your employer, I'm not sure, but for qualification purposes, if you want to use that as income, we have to have a date.
Gotcha.
We have to have like some sort of date on so when you're going to return to work, and that the employer will be hiring you back after that date, and you plan on going back. So it's like a multi-step.
Gotcha. So
in order to use that income to qualify. So. So like some of the examples of documentation that we need to get, I kind of pulled something off of Fannie Mae too here, is like a correspondence from the employer that designates the specific duration of the leave and or expected return date, a computer printout from the employer designated system of record. And it doesn't necessarily have to have like a date on it. So if it's like a month or two old, and we can still use it. It doesn't expire, kind of like our income expires, like our pay stubs expire and things like that. So if that makes sense.
Okay. I think that's definitely, I think, important, because if anything happens, I think it's probably, common with, people, if they're having a baby or whatever, that you're going to be going out on leave for, a period of time. And in order for it to not ding you in a negative way, if you're looking at buying a house, this is important.
Yeah, correct. And so, the lender must receive no evidence of information from the employer indicating that the borrower does not have a right to return to work after the leave period. So as long as, the employer is everybody's understanding that you are coming back and there's no reason that, we can see that you're not coming back, or some sort of letter saying that you're not coming back, then you're fine. Then we can use it. So.
Okay. I think that's good information. I think if anyone has any questions on that, make sure that you reach out to Angelo, and he can talk to you on a one-on-one basis offline about any of your short-term disability and ability to borrow questions.
Yep. Yeah, and there's multiple. Every situation is different, and so we just have to look at every situation to see if, they do in fact need it or do not need it and all that. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, while we were kind of going over that, I found the lumber pricing. So this week we're at $635.60. That is according to the NASDAQ. Basically the market commodity activity on NASDAQ.com, and that is current as of August 2nd at 5:15 p.m. So basically it's going to
at the end of market yesterday.
Yeah, from the previous day. That's how we kind of are able to gauge that information. And the prior week was at 621.20.
Oh wow.
And the 52-week high is 1,670. So that was obviously, that is when everyone was kind of freaking out, right, about lumber pricing, and it was really affecting building and pricing and things like that. And then the 52-week low is 478.30.
Okay.
So we're kind of, we're being right at 635.60 puts us, right at not the low stuff, but we're definitely not like anywhere near the high. So it looks like they're starting to even out a bit.
Gotcha.
Especially based on last week's.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's definitely not. It's closer to the low than it is the high, so that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
It's going to come back down, come back in line. What's going on with the inventory? I've heard a few people call me and say, "Oh, I heard it's cooling off. I was like, wow.
I think that it is a lot like kind of what we've been talking about. First of all, we are going to start seeing a more as we get into a normal market, right? Everything levels off from the pandemic year we had in 2020. We're going to start to fall into those market norms, right? Like meaning, you know, inventory starts to beef up in the fall, like because there's less demand, right? Because people are going back to school.
Right.
The same thing, like those spring and fall and summer typical cadences that we see with the market, that we haven't seen in the last 16 months because of the pandemic. I think we're going to start to fall back into those. So when people say, "Oh, the market is cooling off," I'm like, but is it cooling off or is it getting closer to what we know as a normal seasonal market trend, right?
Right.
So I'm going to pull the latest information we have here. Charlotte region, most recent time period. So we are at, and again, it's really hard. It's really hard to compare to prior year, right? Because prior year was not normal. So we saw sales of new construction single family homes fell to a 14-month low, dropping 6.6% in June compared to May. This is according to the Commerce Department. Although sales of new homes remain 13.5% higher compared to a year ago, the recent decline in sales can be attributed to rising construction costs and building material prices. These increases are then passed on to consumers and to the labor and supply chain challenges, which have extended home building timelines, further frustrating buyers and aggravating America's housing shortage. So, I mean, like, it's the same story, right? We are, like we just talked about lumber pricing, but a lot of times, like, there's a lag. So the 52-week high was north of 1,000. So I think that it's a trickle down effect, like they're not going to immediately start to receive those eases in pricing on lumber. Like it's going to take time.
Yeah, I got you. Yep, makes sense.
So, but the median, this is for the month of June, the median sales price increased 18.4% to $335,000. List to close decreased 25.6% to 67 days, which is crazy. The percent of go ahead.
So list to close is 67 days. You said that's up or down?
Decreased.
It's decreased.
Right.
Okay.
So list to close, right? That's days on the market from list to close. So
got it.
67 days is like, there's a lot.
From listing to closing. It's not like from when you start the loan to closing. Right. Yeah. So there's like no lag time.
No.
There's like very little lag time, maybe a week or two, and maybe 3 weeks in negotiation periods, and then you have to start the loan process. So wow, that's crazy.
That listed, like, keep in mind too, that is like that 67 days is taking an account like 12 months of data, right? So like every time, like that's building on each other. So is it the shortest time? No. But is it the longest time? No. I mean, like it's going down. And the percent of original list price received increased 4.6% to 102.1% of list price. So people are getting over list price by 2% on average.
That's crazy.
I mean, new listings for the week ending in 7/24, the current activity And this is again for the Charlotte metro region. This is the count of properties that have been newly listed on the market in a given week. So for the week ending in 7/24, which is the most current week, right? It's 1,429. 1 year ago, it was 1,381. So, I mean, it's so close. Like it's,
Right.
1429 this week compared to 1381 a year ago.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very. So, question. Does that include coming soon? Or does it have to go list for it to be counted in that metrics?
Yeah. I'm like 99. I'll have to double check on that.
I mean, it makes sense if it wouldn't be included. I was just curious if there's, I wonder if there's any stats on like coming soon that never hit the market. Is that even trackable?
Sometimes I'm sure I can pull something on it, like a report outside of the standard reports from the MLS and see, how many units go under contract before going active.
Before even going active.
Yeah. Like, so it would be like 0 days on market.
Right. Yeah.
But, I just think that, the median sales price, $335 a year ago, $283. The average, if you want to look at the average sales price, it was $405,976 at the end of June compared to $333 in the prior year.
That's insane. Yeah.
I just don't. I hear what people are saying. The other thing too, Angelo, is that the eviction moratorium expired on Saturday. And maybe people, like, I've seen a ton of headlines speaking to that. But here's the deal. I saw two headlines. One of them was, millions are getting ready to be forced out of their home and homeless. Millions of people, at risk. And then I saw another headline that was like, billions of federal aid set aside for, this was like people needing housing assistance have not even been tapped.
Right.
So, I mean, I just. Right. If you take into account, and I don't know these exact numbers, but I think it would be fascinating if I could figure it out really quick. If you took into account the amount of people that are at risk of eviction, okay? Let's call it, I don't know.
1 million.
Yeah, 1 million units. 1 million units nationwide, okay? The amount of, wasn't it like $25 billion or something set aside by the federal government for this?
Yeah. I saw something this morning about how the crisis ministries set aside like all this money they got from the government to come in and help people on this. So yeah, it's for some ridiculous amount of money.
For every one person or and this is not to say that this isn't a critical problem and we're not being sensitive to it. This is just to say that there are resources out there for people in need. So make sure that you have reached out to your local municipalities, your local governments, your state governments for the federal aid that you are entitled to. Because I think that for every house that is in trouble, there is like a significant amount of money.
Agreed.
And that should be the headline, I feel like, not people at risk of losing their homes. Like, okay, yes, that is what it means. But like in reality, there's a solution. And who is holding those purse strings, right?
Right. Yeah. They're not gonna. I'll be curious to see what, like, fast forward 6 months, we have these talks, and to see what actually transpired. We should make like a little note or something, like in our Outlook, just to kind of see. All right, we talked about this on August 3rd. Fast forward 6 months, and we'll see what kind of crisis we're going to be in at that time. If there's
how many people were actually evicted,
right,
or
displaced,
how many,
right.
Yeah, how many people actually utilize because once that money is set aside, once the federal government sets aside that money, like it has to go to those things. It's going to forever
Correct.
sit in that pot until it's utilized.
Right.
So, I mean, it's there. It's not going anywhere. I just think I'll be interested. Like, I think that's a good point. Like, how many people actually get evicted and how much of the money is actually utilized?
Right. And right, as soon as we get done with this, I'm going to send you a calendar invite with that, so we can kind of follow up on it.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, it just happened. It just happened over the weekend.
Yeah,
so
Saturday.
We will see. We will track this and can keep you posted on that. Send an email. Well, cool. What else you got? Anything else you got going on? You got anything for the weekend? I know it's only Tuesday, but
I just, I'm personally just slowing down a little bit. I think with the seasonality of things, we kind of had a gangbuster first, second, and I guess we're not into the third quarter. Are we? What is it?
I mean, we're basically into Q3 right now.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of like to evaluate where I've gone and how I can do better, and I know that you're kind of the same mentality. Yeah.
Just pretty much we're still cranking away. I can see a little bit. It's weird. It's one, like last week it was closing out a bunch of files, and I was like, all right, whew. And then this week it's like wide open again. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people moving here. I'm talking to another client from Utah moving out here. It's just crazy amount of people moving here. So if you know anybody looking, relocating, tell them to give them Ash's information. She can help you find a house. I can help you with the financing, and please feel free to ask questions. Ask questions, like us, share us, follow us. If you know anybody that needs our assistance, please give them our info, and appreciate you watching.
Absolutely. Well, that's cool. That's all I got.
That's a wrap. All right. Cool. See you next week.
Thanks. Bye.